and welcome to another episode of Songs Nobody Asked Me For, and another interview, and a really big, significant interview for me. It was lovely to meet Grace Lightman, and I feel really chuffed that she gave me the time, really. I kind of think that I know how busy people are, and Grace is a really important person in the local music scene, really. Not only is she out there trying to promote that scene, but she's getting involved in so many different areas. I think she was, I like to call her the music czar, but I don't think she was the music czar. She was the representative of promoting music in Plymouth, and now she runs a committee that continues to try to do that, very connected with Plymouth culture, but amazing artist in her own right, very successful, early days up in London before moving down here and continuing that success, really. And I found it really interesting to sort of spend time with her, really. She's so knowledgeable about the scene and about music in general, and has had some really interesting experiences, really. As I always have a problem with this podcast, is using other people's music for the intros and outros. I'm really keen to do that because I always want to promote other artists. And, the people that come on, I don't want to promote them by playing my own music. But for someone like Grace, she didn't really have anything that wasn't on Spotify. And now you'll know, those of you that have been following me, hardcore fans, that I fell foul of Spotify early days, because they didn't seem to be able to understand that a piece of music I was using at the beginning of, it was about episode 3 or 4, I think. It might have been episode 12. It was episode 12, I think. Was my own music. So they told me I was in trouble for copyright breaching and blocked the episode. Now, it took me ages, 2-3 weeks, to get them to grow up and be a little bit more sensible about it. And eventually managed to get them to do that. But I thought, if that was my music, it's going to be even worse if I try and use anybody else's music. So what I try and get from people is either stuff they haven't released yet, or maybe even some audio of them live, or they can send me a video and I can get the audio off of that if it's live. Just something that or different version of something, so that I don't end up having their episode banned. But Grace didn't really have anything except this experimental sort of music, well, the music she'd done for something that she let me have, which I'm really grateful for. So that's the music at the beginning and the end. But I just so want to get you to check out Grace's music. You can find her on Spotify, Grace Lightman. And there's one track that drove me mad, and it's called Repair, Repair. And I think I mentioned it in the interview, that it's like a little earworm. Such a great track, and it's got such a good hook in the chorus. And I couldn't get it out of my head, really. And even now I'm sitting here and I'm humming it to myself, but I won't ruin it by singing it. But it is really good, and I really suggest you check her music out. Follow her. She does a great gig guide every month to just tell you some of the, a few of the gigs that are around. Enjoy. So I'm here with Grace Lightman, and I'm so happy to have you here. I really appreciate you coming along and spending a bit of time with me, especially if we've never met, really. So it's it's great. We share something in common, is that we both moved down here from London at some point in life. Mm-hmm. So it'd be good for me. I'm always curious about people's backgrounds, and we need to just point out there's some recording going on, and I don't know whether it's going to come on the podcast.
It might do.
It's interesting. It's very experimental.
Let's hope that whoever is playing it is happy to have their music,
that's true,
even though it's muffled.
That's true.
Their music out, so we'll give credit, whoever you are.
Whoever you are. Maybe I need to find them afterwards and I'll invite them on the podcast.
Great idea.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about your, how did you get into music in the first place? I'm curious about, whether people have musical families, or whether they're the only person, or what influenced them into doing that in the first place.
I do have a musical family. My dad is a musician. And I don't know, I don't think he ever, no one ever pushed it on me.
Right.
But I always sang and performed as a little kid, and then I'm just one of those people that's I'm quite a creative person, so I will try my hand at anything creative, right. And I've had every creative job that you could have, living in London as well. You're just worried about money all the time, so you're just taking jobs, doing whatever. But when I finished A-levels, I went to art college and did fine art for a year, and during that time I was I want to move to New York after that and like find myself. Don't know what I was
Right,
thinking, because that would be completely unsustainable and impossible.
knows?
But I had a dream. But I, whilst I was at art college, this guy who went to school with my brother, my older brother, he messaged me on probably what was Facebook or something at the time, maybe MySpace, not MSN.
Right.
I was an MSN person, but by this point I was old enough that MSN was not there anymore. Anyway, this guy, he messaged me and he was like, do you want to come and audition for this band? Do you sing? I've heard you sing. And I was like, who is this guy? And I asked my brother if he knew him, and my brother was like, oh yeah, and I remember him from school. Yeah, go for it. And I suddenly was like picturing myself auditioning for a band and like being the lead singer of a band, and I was like, oh, actually I think that might be my thing. And the guy sent me some songs to learn, to audition with, and I listened to them, and it was like a 60s psych rock band, but all of his original material.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool, I can really see myself doing this. And auditioned, got the job, got the role in the band, and then from that point onwards I was like, this is it, I don't want to do anything else, I just want to be a musician. But I didn't write any music, I just sang in the band and toured around the UK and Europe and stuff. And this was like the years where people are normally at university. I was doing that, so
that was your
like,
life experience.
that was my that was my degree, was like being a touring psych rock front girl.
Wow.
And yeah, did that for a couple of years, and then that disbanded, and I was like, what am I gonna do? I really want to be like lead singer. I really want to sing on stage, but I don't have any songs. I was like, guess I'm gonna have to learn how to write some songs. So I just like, I'd been sort of talking to some management whilst I was in the old band, who were trying to poach me as a solo artist anyway. But again, I didn't have any songs, so it was literally just based on like my like performance, I guess, and my voice, which is very kind, but also was a bit dodge. And but they introduced me to one female songwriter, a woman called Holly, and she kind of took me under her wing and introduced me to like loads and loads of songwriters, all men. And because that's just the way the industry was. And I went and just did like hundreds and hundreds of co-writes for like 2-3 years. And the very first one that I did was at Middle Farm Studios. Okay. Which, have you heard of Middle Farm?
I've heard of it, yes. Where is that?
It's in Newton Abbot, near Newton Abbot.
Oh, okay. Right.
And I met Pete Miles there, who runs it now, and I met Patrick Pearson there, and Patrick is now, and still is, my sort of like co-writer, creator on all my music. And it was the first session I did, it was with those guys. And then just cycled through all of these people, and then ended up like going, actually, do you know what, I just want to like work with this one guy, because with the music that we're making together is like exactly what I want to be doing. And that was like 12 years ago now, maybe. Okay. I'm guesstimating.
Guesstimating's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Guesstimating's good.
So that's like my whole backstory. You didn't even ask me what my whole backstory was.
I don't mind a whole backstory because we've got other things to talk about with you today, which is great. But that is a whole. I got to sort of like backtrack. Where were you in London? Where were you sort of?
So I grew up in Twickenham.
Oh, okay.
But then when I was doing all of that, I was living in Twickenham, and then by the time I'd left and gone solo, I'd moved out and lived in Tooting in South London. I like South London.
South London,
you
said there, didn't you?
Yeah.
I noticed that, yeah. I'm more of an East London boy, so we lived in Walthamstow.
Nice.
But I trained as an occupational therapist in West London Institute, if you know that. It's in Isleworth, which is not that far from Twickenham.
Yeah, I lived on the border of Isleworth.
It's the longest tube a person could decide to do, from East London to there every day. It was
that is very long.
It was hell, yes. But
I don't envy you.
No, it's over now. Long time ago.
Yeah.
So there's a sort of sense of that background of family music, and then sort of getting an opportunity to front something but not create, and then moving into that space of feeling, well, I need to create because I want to be doing this. How easy was that? I mean, did just come to you? I mean, is that sort of, or is that a thing that you feel you had to work very hard on, or?
Yeah, I guess I had to kind of like learn how to write songs, but I did when I was 10, and I found a diary entry when I was moving from my flat in Tooting actually. I found my old diary from when I was 10.
Right.
And one of the first diary entries is like, I found a new career. I'm going to be a songwriter, and there's my first like song that I'd wrote, like the lyrics of it in there.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So I'd obviously like there was something in me that wanted to write songs. When I was at school, I did music as like a kid, but I didn't continue it to GCSE. But I remember writing songs at the piano and like learning them. But I guess it's like it's a part of everyone really is like that creative spark that
Yes.
I think it's just accessing it later in your life and then honing it as a craft.
I think so. It's the craft bit, it's the hardest bit, I think, in songwriting particularly. I think it's quite hard to actually, it's hard work. So there's a lot of hard work in that structure and development of something.
Yeah.
That's the bit that people often don't do. And I guess like anything we do, you know, if I want to play sport, I don't have the desire to put in all that really hard effort to be able to do it really well. And I guess that's the bit that maybe people sometimes don't get to. They have all that creative bit, but the ability to do that really difficult structuring and working stuff out maybe is what's missing for people. I don't know. And then, so when does because I looked you up very briefly online, but very briefly because I don't like to find much out about people, and I've been listening to music today as well, which is nice and nice to listen to. I mean, it was great. I really enjoyed it. And there's a particular track that's really annoying me because is it Repair?
Oh yeah.
It's such a headworm or whatever they call
Catchy,
it. It's just very catchy and it's great. But you did that album, didn't you? I think that was 2019. It's as much as I know, and then moved.
Yeah.
So what was the story behind that? How comes that happened?
Moved down to Plymouth.
Yeah, well, it's not New York, is it? Really?
It's not New York.
It's not an obvious move because my sense in my head, wow, you've just had an album come out. It looked like it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
And then where shall I go that's really going to help my music career to develop?
Well, that's
Plymouth, but it's kind of
that's the funny thing because I was like basically it felt like such a struggle to get my album released, finished. And released because I was doing it all on like favors for production and everything. I was an independent artist at that point, and then I had this label that was starting to work with me, and they really they were sort of taking a bit of a leap of faith with me because I was one of their first artists to publish, and then one of their first artists to license the album and put it out. I think I was like the second artist on the label, but the other one was like doing it at the same time. So and we kind of knew each other through that process.
A couple of newbies at the same time.
Exactly, but he was already quite well known, and I was like brand new. And I'd had a bit of success from releasing stuff without them by myself. And they were a management company originally, and they managed some pretty big acts. And I was like, well, they must know loads of people, so they must be really amazing. But I also had these promises very early on from big labels that I really wanted to work with, a bit of like sprinkles of money to try things with different producers, and nothing came of it. And it just felt like I was living in London, and I was like doing the thing and like, you know, having this crazy life, and I was part of the art scene and part of the music scene in South London, and it was like really fun, but it was a struggle. And that whole starving artist thing and struggling artist thing is like actually not very good for your mental or physical health.
Not much fun, is it?
No, not much fun. And I was living in a house share, and I was just kind of like working about 3 different part-time jobs. I was doing photography as a self-employed person. I was doing face painting. I was playing gigs as Grace Lightman and trying to finish my album. And then finally these guys took a leap of faith, put out my record for me, but that took so long. Like just even the decision and the deal from them offering and to it actually getting signed was 8 months. And it just felt like everything just felt difficult. And during that time I was getting more and more like my mental health was going downhill, and I was getting it was getting poorer and getting into more and more debt, I was using credit cards to like pay for music videos, to be like for props, and I'd do everything myself, but I would still have to buy all the art direction for it and like costume, prop, everything, and make it. But I was using credit card, and I don't know, I was just like just being an idiot and not knowing how to pay it back, and just it was going downhill in terms of adulting. So it looked good. It looked like it was going well. And actually it was great because I managed to release my album on a record label and on vinyl, and that was like my dream come true.
Exciting.
But and then at that point I got assigned a manager from the label who had the management company as well. I really liked her. She was really cool. And those guys were like helping me release it, and it was going really well. And I was like, I just can't live in London anymore. I can't afford it anymore. Like I think it's time that I cut ties. Like everything seems to be going well with the music. Maybe I could move to Middle Farm, which is the studio that started everything for me. And I spoke to Pete and Pat that worked there and lived there at the time. I was like, what do you guys reckon to me, like moving here? And they were like, no, Grace, just no, like you can't drive, it's in the middle of nowhere, you've only ever lived in London, like there's going to be too much of a culture shock, and you're not like in the, they didn't say this, but they were like, probably thinking it, not really in the best headspace to be putting yourself into the middle of nowhere, and Pat was like, why don't you move to Plymouth? Because I'd been coming to Plymouth to write the album, because Patrick was living in Plymouth for like a couple of those years. So I was coming to Plymouth, and I'd made all these friends. Every time I came down, I'd meet people, and I'd meet people at Middle Farm, and everyone seemed to be in Devon, and I was kind of doing the opposite thing to what normal people do, where they leave their hometown and go to London, to become like, to make it big. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, that's actually a really good idea. And he said, you can get a room in a house. This is in 2019. You can get a room in a house for like 350 quid and just work like part time, and then get yourself out of debt, make music. And I was like, that's such a good idea. And my partner now, I was sort of seeing him, and he lived in Plymouth as well. So it was kind of like I was in this long distance relationship. And I spoke to my manager and the label. I was like, will it kill my career if I move to Plymouth? And they were like, no. If it's gonna, they were like, we're here. If it's gonna help you become more grounded and confident and not be in so much debt, then go for it. And I did it, and then it actually worked really well for me, because BBC in Devon and Cornwall, which is what it was called, now it's called BBC Southwest, they like got wind of my album, and they just loved it, and they like put me on Front Row episode, and they got me a Maida Vale session, and it was like amazing. It was like, oh right, okay, you can be like a big fish in a small pond. Not that that's what I was, but like that kind of how it felt compared to being a small fish in an absolutely gigantic ocean that London was.
It makes it. I mean, I work in the mental health services. I'm a psychotherapist, and what I've been able to do in Plymouth, I could never have done where I was working in Paddington, and those things were already there. And when I moved to Plymouth, sort of half grudgingly, half, we had a child and we were thinking, bring them up. Plymouth's a nicer place to go. But it's the same experience, really, of coming down. There wasn't anything, and so thinking, well, I can actually evolve and develop and become much more in this field, in this area, because of where I am. The opportunities are different, aren't they? They're not better or worse. They're different. And,
and I think you once you get out of that rat race, you kind of like, there's a period of decompressing that you have. Oh, okay, land, and then you land, and then suddenly you got a bit of space to think about what it is that you're actually looking for. I think when I moved down here, I was still like, oh my god, is my career going to be over because I'm not in London? And I still wanted to be like famous at that point. And then moved down here, and then of course we had like the dreaded lockdown, which was
2019. It was pretty soon after you came out.
Exactly. And I still was doing pretty all right during that time, but it was kind of this weird relief of like leveling thing where I couldn't do gigs anymore, and I couldn't I couldn't go anywhere, and no one could, and it kind of just everyone stopped, and I was like, okay, slight bit of introspection, got really down and depressed like a lot of people did during that time, but kind of came out of it like, I don't even know if I want to do that kind of music now. Like, do I want to do music at all? Like, who am I? That, you know, we all kind of had these existential
crisis.
And ended up sort of like still making an EP after, like, during and after lockdown when it eased. But having this like, I'd made 2 EPs and released a couple of singles, but I'd have this thing where like the day before the EP or the singles would come out, I would just be like, I just want to quit. I just want to quit everything. I want to quit music. I'm scared and I don't know what I'm doing, and why am I even doing this at all? I want to run away and quit. Okay. And then I put it out, and then I get some external validation, and I'd be like, oh, maybe it's okay. Maybe
external
it's okay.
Validation's a wonderful thing.
I know.
Yeah.
So the last like few years have been a real kind of like working out how to relinquish my ego and still do the things I want to do. And I don't think I would have been able to do that in London.
Right. Yes.
I think being in the Southwest it's like when you move away from your family, or when one moves away from their family, and you're given that space to work out who you are outside of the family construct of being like a son or a daughter.
Yes.
And it's just, you grow up, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what me moving away from London was. It was like moving away from my relationship to London and what it was. Yeah. It's very profound.
It is, and it's so interesting that so many people I know in London say they want to leave London and never do. It's this sort of playing. It's almost like a sort of brainwashing of I've got to live in London, and many people don't do it, do they? Do you feel have you grown into your own skin as you've kind of now you're here where you are now? Because when I think about that time, it's actually a relatively short time, isn't it? I mean, 2019, then you get the lockdown, and then I guess you've had 4, maybe 5 years of being in the Plymouth scene, as it were. Then, what's your experience of live music in Plymouth and where it's at? This is obviously what we talk about a lot on here. But how have you found that? What's that?
Well, I think that's a good question for me, because it's sort of become my mission to big up live music in Plymouth over those years. And there wasn't any, as we said, in lockdown, there wasn't any. And to be honest, when I moved here, didn't really like the live music I was seeing, because I wasn't into like punk, and I wasn't into all that kind of stuff. And then lockdown happened, and I sort of met some people who were putting together this kind of forum of people in music talking about how to make the music scene better in Plymouth. And during that time learned that Plymouth, like a lot of cities in the UK, was struggling because venues were closing down and people weren't buying tickets, and lockdown really, really, really affected that as well. And I just kind of continued going to those forums, and then somehow been taken in as became the music ambassador.
That's a great title, isn't it?
Music ambassador. Which is honestly an honour.
Yeah.
That's now ended, but it was 2 years.
Oh, I don't want to talk to you then. Who's the new one?
Well,
that would be the music business, wouldn't it?
Well, the new one is what we made out of that ambassadorship. So we've made this thing called Plymouth Music CIC, which I think maybe could do with a better name. But the idea is to kind of connect people, be a voice for the Plymouth music scene, and offer resources for touring bands and promoters and stuff, so that Plymouth's got a bit more of a framework for their music scene. And the Music CIC, which I'm currently the chair of, God forbid me being the chair, it's quite stressful, but the Music CIC is kind of acting as the ambassador now.
Okay, right.
So I think there's like 8 or 9 of us, and we get together and talk about what we're going to do for Plymouth. And it's a slow process because it's a voluntary thing now. Of course, but my kind of mission is just to improve it all, because Plymouth, actually, now that I know the scene, Plymouth's got so much good music, and in the past 3 or 4 years, the growth of diversity in that has changed a lot. Like it's really grown. There's so many different genres performing, so many different demographics that is appealing to, and there's different venues popping up as well, and there's a new record shop, and like there's so much going on, and there's also loads of musicians down here because I moved down here. Like I'm one of the people who realised that there's a scene of musicians down here. There's loads of people to collaborate with. I've started like 10 new bands since I moved down here. Yeah. Yeah. So I think Plymouth music scene has got a lot to offer, but it's very like untapped.
Yes. It feels like a little, I don't know, seeds of things in a sense. And when I was talking, I can't remember who I was talking with about this. I have so many conversations in this, mostly to myself. So I may have been talking to myself about this idea of a scene and an emerging scene. And there was an article in Plymouth Voice a little while back. I don't know if you saw that around this possibilities of the seeds. And I was trying to work out whether it's how it moves forward, because I suppose what am I trying to say? In my head, I've always felt like I was slightly outside of any scene. You know, I always did when I was sort of here in the past, and was thinking. And since I've done the podcast, I've started to feel like I've moved slightly inside that scene because I've been able to meet people and get to know people. But it was an effort for me to actually establish doing that. And then it made me think, well, maybe there are different scenes. There are scenes around, and at the moment, what there isn't any overview of all of that. There's people that know some people and people that know other people, and how you bring all that together, I don't really know. But it's great that those seeds are there. It's almost like, how do you make it into a garden, or how do you? Yeah,
and it's literally a grassroots.
Yeah, well, it's a great metaphor, isn't it? We're doing well. Yeah. Because I think, if I went back, I've been in my band. It's about the 3 of us for about 12 years, but 4 of us for 3 years and 5 of us for about 6 months, I think.
Oh wow!
It's lovely. I like being in a big band. It makes a big difference. But back then, certainly, there were lots of venues for that sort of punk, sort of thrash music, and we were trying to do this sort of what we call it, sort of indie funky sort of thing, and just trying to find anywhere to play was almost impossible because that genre just wasn't. Whereas now I can definitely feel that beginning of easing of, there are more places to play, but also what I'm getting more into as a slightly older person is thinking, I'm just going to set stuff up myself and then invite somebody younger or along to come and support us, and then someone else gets an opportunity. But also you're just doing stuff for yourself, and I think that maybe helps the scene grow as well.
Totally. And like trying things in different spaces as well is quite exciting, because I think something that Plymouth is really good at is being loyal to the bands that they really like seeing. So you can, like, I personally don't like to play that often as my own solo project in Plymouth. Perhaps that's why I started so many different projects. But I've noticed that you've got like a loyal local fan base when you play somewhere, and you've got people that like your music, and they come back again, and they come back again, and they come back again, which is quite mad. Like, I wouldn't have envisaged that to be a thing, because I'm someone that's always looking for something new and exciting and unexpected. But I think actually the more majorative view is like, people love revisiting the things that they love. So I think you can play in different kind of like spaces and different venues, and the different people who love coming to watch you will always come back.
That's interesting. It's made me think, because one of the things I bang on about is the swell of the covers bands and how that's created a problem for the tiny little group of people doing original music. But when you describe it that way, because there's always greys in all of these things, what appeals to people in covers music, that's a song I know, that's a song I like. Maybe what you're describing there is a little space where that might begin to happen within the new music scene, where people start to get to think, I like this band, I'll go and see this band. So their comfort is maintained slightly, because I think it is about a comfortable thing sometimes. So you're not having to go out and see something you've never seen, or somebody that you don't know any of their staff. And
like singing along to lyrics, to like independent artists' original music is like, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but it's like one of the most amazing feelings ever, seeing people in the crowd like singing along your lyrics.
Occasionally, I'd
Yeah.
say occasionally.
It's
yeah.
occasional, I think, for all of
I
us.
think
but-
it's not, even just, I think that's the buzz of what we do, isn't it? At
Yeah.
some level, it's seeing somebody tapping their toe even, or seeing somebody
Yeah.
who's, going to play in some pub out in Cornwall, and there's one guy with a pint sort of at the bar, but he's there watching you intently.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what I always focus on at
It's
gigs
cool.
like that, and you just think, oh, that's amazing, I did that.
Yeah.
I created that.
And
you
it's
know.
like, again, not for external validation, but
Yes, it is.
but it is. No, but also it's like that feeling of community togetherness, like when you go and watch something, when you're in the audience as well, being able to sing along or tap your toe or dance to something on stage is like you feel like you're a part of something.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's something Plymouth is good at as well, is like the audiences are always pretty rowdy in a good way.
Right.
Because, having played in lots of different places, and especially using London as an example, people in London are way too cool to dance around.
Right. Yeah.
But there's always like a choice few people at the front, even if no one is moving. There's like a couple of people who are going to show up at your gig, and they're going to come to the front and just dance because they don't care. And that's just like, how great is that?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, and a lot of it's just, I guess, as bands trying to find the right places to play or trying to find different opportunities. I suppose I'm curious about, in your role or with your experience, if you were a band out there that's getting together for the first time when they're fairly new, how would they go about? What's the best way to go about getting gigs and stuff? And that's a really unfair question, because it's in a way it's quite hard, isn't it?
It's hard.
And what you describe is almost like, I often think about this it's like football leagues. You start somewhere down in the national conference leagues, and you're kind of there, and what you're describing, in a sense, it's not the Premiership, but it's the lowest league, it's League Two or something.
Right.
But how do people in that first place move into that space? Because I think that's hard.
That's really hard. I guess, like, if we're talking in Plymouth, there's a couple of open mics.
Yeah,
if you're a solo artist, that's a really nice space to build a community. So I think as a solo artist, you can feel quite isolated.
Yes. Yes.
But there's that. There's also being a band. Like you said, putting on your own gigs. Like, there's some venues in the city, and they might be known as punk venues, but you can still use them if you're not a punk band. And some of them are actually pretty cheap or kind to the artist to put on. I think this is one of the cities where actually the venues, although the venues are struggling, they really want to see live new music in the city. So they will cut you a deal or their deal is quite good to begin with. And you can put on a little gig. But one thing I would say is start small and build it up, because you don't want to book a 500 capacity venue, not that there is necessarily one around, but you don't want to book, I don't know, let's say 200 capacity venue and then like 10 people show up.
No, I've done that, But
we've all done that.
I think as well, I mean, maybe it's for me, I'm learning all this stuff as well, because, and again, through this and through, I think about it a lot more than I did. And it's approaching other bands as well.
Yeah.
I'm always, we're not big by any means, but we're in a place now where we can sort of get gigs and just drop us a line on Facebook or something. Just say, look, we're looking to support somebody. Do you want to? Yeah. We've had another band I interviewed the other day. They got in touch with me and said, we're doing this. We've booked playing at the Underground and Muttley playing. Do you want to come and do it with us? And we just say, yeah, of course. So I think that networking and that communication, but approaching, bands that look a bit bigger than you or look a bit sort of like they're a bit established or whatever, and most people ignore you. I mean, it's always a frustration of social media, isn't it? You write to people and they never get back. But sometimes people do. Yeah. And that's another way, I guess, if you're fairly new.
Definitely.
Especially if you're younger, because I think it takes a lot of confidence to set up your own thing as well, doesn't it?
And I think that's the other thing about the BBC introducing thing, is that they're actually, because there's a much smaller scene here, they're actually more likely to listen to your music, and then that means your chances of getting played on the radio are even better. But if you've written on your little upload where you've got your next gig, then they might even say it on the radio, go and shout out your gig.
I'm smiling because I played I've got a list of acoustic cafe type of places we've played as a minimal, and my bass player and I, sometimes we do them, and there was a young woman playing there and she was playing the keyboard and she had 3 tracks. I thought, this is my track that was on BBC Introducing. And then we went to play and I said, Like, this is my first track that was never taken up by BBC Introducing. I had about 6 tracks. I said,
That's great.
we've never been able to be successful in
That's
that.
funny.
But I keep trying, and I kind of think, well, again, it's where you're at in your life and your career.
Yeah.
I don't cry over it. I always bung them in because I thought, you never know. One day they might say, I quite like that. But it was funny.
You can't please everyone. Have you heard of John Otway?
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen him live?
No.
Do you know about his whole shtick?
No, tell me about his whole shtick. Because we're on the podcast as well, so I can pretend I know. But
oh my God, you should get him on the podcast.
Okay. Right.
I went to see him in Ashburton.
Okay.
About a week ago. And basically in 1973, I want to say, he had a hit called Really Free.
Right,
You know
yes.
that song?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And he's kind of like a punk guy, and it was like this weird song with a lot of kind of, it's almost like poetry, like spoken word, but it's kind of quite absurdist. It's a weird song, but I love it. And he went on Old Grey Whistle Test and did the song.
Yeah, it's well known. It's kind of
with this other guy playing, the two of them, and it's like heavy guitars but like no drums, and it's a very famous video because he injures himself, he's like running around all over the stage, knocking things over, pulling amp bleeds out, everything, and he injures himself, and he actually had to go to A&E after the shoot, and that's kind of like, he's got a bit of a cult following, but he's made the cult following out of gigging since then, and he's just been gigging and gigging and gigging under the guise of like a band or an artist that never made it, because after that hit he never had a hit, and he's the perfect example of having that loyal fan base who come to every single gig because they don't know what they're going to see, but they know that they'll see the songs that they love. And they all buy the merch. They've all got the T-shirts. When I went to the gig, there was an MC, and he said, "Who's never been to a John Otway gig before?" And me and maybe 5 other people put their hand up, but there was 200 people in there. Wow. And he's also the perfect example of someone who is definitely not doing it for anyone but his own
himself.
And not for external validation, but he just is he makes himself and everyone so happy because he's so in the moment, and it's like, I can't tell if it's comedy or music or performance art or whatever it is, but it's punk and it's cool.
Yeah, it's there.
So
fantastic.
But the reason I brought it up is because you said about making a joke out of failure. It's good to be self-depreciated. Enjoy it. Really. That's it. It's kind of like lean into whatever your thing is and do it really well.
I think so. And engage with it. I was talking to someone the other day. Have you heard of Horse Divorce? That's another song.
I've heard of them, yeah.
So there's a guy called Sean, a lovely guy. Yeah, you should meet him. He's really, really nice and so sociable, and he knows so many people. And we'd had a strange gig, but we'll talk about that off air maybe. But I was moaning to him about it, and he said, just the main thing to do is just engage with the audience. He said, that's all you need to do, is just be yourself and engage with the audience, And
so hard though, isn't it?
It is. And that's something you have to learn at some level, isn't it?
But I think that's something that doesn't come until you relinquish the ego.
Yeah, I think so.
Really hard.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm aware of the time. I don't know what the time is. Do you have the time?
My watch is 2 minutes fast, so that I'm not
can't
late
be 2
for
minutes,
things.
That's okay.
It's 6:08.
Oh, we're doing all right. It's 40 minutes we've done that. That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I try and keep these to about, when I'm on my own, 20 minutes, because nobody wants to hear me talk for more than 20 minutes. But after that, when I'm with people, 30, 40, 45 minutes. But it's good. I feel like that's a sort of cheesy radio question, really. I was going to say, what's next for you?
I knew you were going to say what's next.
But I suppose let me qualify that. So you've had that sort of what looked like success, and I think that's a really useful thing for people to hear. And again, it is very like trying to become a sports person, isn't it? The majority of people never really get to that sort of heady space, but there's somewhere for you, and there's somewhere that you could enjoy and somewhere that you could like. And it's found like you've had that existential, cathartic sort of movement in place over time, and then you've come here, and then you've gotten involved in the music scene, and you've become ambassador, which should have a jacket or a medallion or something.
That'd be cool.
So like a mayor.
Where's my medallion?
Exactly. So I suppose when I say what next, I guess where does your interest lie in terms of, what you want to be
is
doing,
next?
or is it more of the same? Really?
Well, I'm making an album at the moment,
Okay.
and it will be my second LP, so my
Okay.
second full album. It's taken me a long time to get to the point where I feel like I can actually do that, because of all the things we talked about. And I've had like all these songs for ages that I've been like, I'm going to make them into an album. And actually I've ended up just rewriting and doing a whole new thing. I think there's maybe like 2 songs on this album that are old songs.
Okay.
But I think it's just like basically going like effort and just like picking songs and making music, recording it, putting it out. That's like part of the ego stripping, is being like, it doesn't actually matter so much.
Right.
Like not every piece of work I do needs to be my best, like seminal piece of work. I can strive for greatness, but I can't strive for perfection.
No.
So I think that's what this process has been about. It's also been about writing and producing songs that I can play live.
Okay.
And not feel so overwhelmed by. My
Yes.
first album is so heavily produced and so well written.
Of course, yes. That's what they were my first thoughts.
Thank you. But me and the person that wrote all the songs with me, neither of us can like really conceive how to play it live anymore.
Right.
It's like it's gotten bigger than us,
Yeah.
especially me. So it's been about like make a body of work that feels like me now and feels like I can control it rather than it control me. And that feels like I've successfully done that. I'm nearly finished. I'm so nearly finished. I'm still pulling in favours to do all these things. And I've got a couple of gigs booked in for the start of September. I don't know when this podcast comes out.
I'm about 6 weeks ahead of myself, so yeah, September's good. You can
So
plug
I can
those.
plug
Yeah,
them?
seriously, plug
Great.
them. That's rare for people because I was about 2 months ahead, 3 months ahead at one point. So go for it.
Okay, so yes, I've got one gig where I'm supporting a guy called Westerman outside in Bantham, so not Plymouth. I'm saving
Okay.
Plymouth.
Big return. Yeah.
Big return. That's on the 4th of September.
Okay.
So that's my first. Oh no, I'm doing this in the wrong order. 3rd of September, I'm playing an experimental music night in Cirencester at the Long Table, which I've never been to before.
Okay.
And then the following day at Bantham outside, supporting Westerman on the 4th of September. And then I think I'm playing on the 11th of September at Nook Houseplants in Plymouth.
I know. Yes,
on
yes.
Ebrington Street.
I worked just along the road from there.
Oh,
yes,
cool.
yes,
And they've been putting on like
Acoustic things, haven't
things,
they?
yeah.
Yeah.
And part of my like trying to make my music more accessible to myself thing is I'm just playing in cafes. I just want to play in cafes because to me that feels very. It feels like I'm in like a French yeah singer in the 60s. That's like my.
Okay, right,
that's like who I'm trying to embody. The music doesn't sound anything like that, but that's kind of like.
Okay.
That's my spiritual little place where I want to be with it. So I'm going to play at Nook, and I'm going to have a local support as well, who is yet to be decided, confirmed. In terms of any other things,
Well, that's not bad.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make some videos and do some cool stuff. I don't know when I'm gonna release this record.
It'd be good to see you out sort of, on the local scene and that.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone in the opposite direction because I used to do lots of those acoustic cafes and places, and then, as I say, I've just been exponentially growing. But it does come at a cost, which is, there are some places you just can't play. We play here, actually, and we squeeze onto that little stage just because I love Cafe Momus, really. And
It's cool, isn't it?
It's such a, and Tamas, who runs this, is so nice.
Yeah, legend.
Just love coming here and doing gigs, really.
It's great.
So I think we're playing here again in November, and I think it's
cool.
it's just nice to. But yeah, I mean, it's about being your authentic self, I suppose, isn't it? In a cliched sort of way.
Yeah, and also kind of like starting, like you say, like starting small and growing. I kind of wanted to just start again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can grow and then you can decide to get
Yeah.
smaller, can't you? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
other thing, and you can do what you want, really. I mean, that's lots of the plus about the scene these days, isn't it? I mean, and all the social media stuff and everything, when it works for us, we can just do whatever we bloody want these days. If you want any money out of it, you can't. But actually, you have that ability and opportunity to be in these spaces and yeah, just be yourself and do whatever you want to do. And there is a medium and a platform and a place where you can do it, and that's a thing to be celebrated alongside of the many young musicians I've met who are so frustrated that they can't earn any money. And I was saying, I think my stuff's been on for 6 years. I think I've earned $15.
Oh yeah,
I'm so excited about that. I must cash it in.
That's
at some
amazing.
point.
I think like don't make music to make money.
No,
just make music. Don't. Yeah.
I think Bowie said something good about that. Something around that. You know, don't do it for this. Don't do it for that. Just do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, that's all.
Because then, like, if you have some kind of commercial, like financial success, it's like that's cool, but who cares if you haven't made a piece of music that you don't really love? It's all about the music.
It is really. It is. I think it's just difficult. You know, again, you'll know a lot more young musicians than I do, but the couple that I've spoken to, one in particular comes to mind who just, you know, they were saying that, you know, they didn't have money for a guitar, you know, so it's finding ways of actually raising money, getting into a recording studio. And I know they were quite wanted to big up sort of Plymouth culture and the different things that were around for young people in Plymouth to sort of support them, and they were one of the people that come. I should have known it was Cat Rose. Haven't you come across Cat Rose?
I know
So Cat was one of my early. She was my first person I interviewed I didn't know, so that was quite nice. And she agreed to do it, and she was on tour, and we that was very funny because she was just actually in a sort of really crappy hotel up in Liverpool or something. But
that's what touring's all about.
It is, I know it is, and we were just saying, it sounds really great. Let's keep that mystery, you know. But yeah, I know she talks about that sort of real financial struggle, and it's really difficult. And you know, I'm in the privilege of my position these days is I'm not looking to succeed, make it. I can afford to play gigs for nothing, and I can just enjoy that experience. And then we can sit and say, you know, well, it's just about. Of course, if you're in that place, you're really wanting to try and make it. I think that's harder which we've been through in different ways. Yeah. You go through that when you're younger, that place of feeling, well, what do I do? How do I do this? You know, and. But it is hard. It's expensive nowadays.
It really is. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's also important to it's really hard too because you're want to do it for you, but you also are working. So one thing I would say is don't try your best not to play for nothing. Kids.
Except if you're doing one of my special promotional gigs that we have no money for, but we're trying to.
This is it.
Depends what you're doing. Yeah. Yes. Don't
Make
do
a
it for
judgment
somebody
call.
or some. Yeah. Except me.
There's exactly, but there's a magic recipe, isn't there, for making those decisions, and basically, I think it's three things. Is one, is it going to pay you? 2, is it going to bring you joy? And 3, is it going to further you in your career? And if it's got all those 3 things, then you are absolutely should 100% do it. But if it's only got one of those things, you should really consider whether.
And maybe
if it's got none,
2, it's okay.
2 is okay.
2 is okay. Yeah, I agree. 1, none of them. Then
then don't do it.
And certainly don't pay to play. You know,
No.
I was in indie bands in London in the 90s, and we were in this whole big pay to play scam rip off thing. You know, you play the rock garden.
We've all been there.
Yeah, you pay a load of money, they get you to sell tickets, and it's mad, really. But,
it's really bad. But your music, again, everyone, your music is worth something.
Yeah.
And be that money or some kind of growing your scene or getting your music heard. It's you've got to do it for the right reasons.
Or that you're just enjoying being out there and in the love of the world and playing stuff yourself, and you don't care. It is. It's about what's true to you.
Yeah.
And I like your 3 elements there, and maybe one of them is okay, which is if you're feeling fed by it. You know, if you're feeling fed by it, it's okay. But you get more fed by it if someone gives you some money, don't you?
Yeah. Well, literally fed.
Exactly.
So you can,
exactly.
And also, if a gig, this is something that I think people in the UK need to suss a bit better. But if a gig is giving you dinner, then that is a good gig to do.
Yes.
Because then you will be fed emotionally and literally.
Literally, the first time we played Cafe Momus, that was the deal.
Yeah.
Because we got Sunday lunch.
That's amazing.
That was fantastic.
The first time I played in Plymouth, weirdly, I played in now what's called Harmon Bagels. Back then it was called the Hutong, and it is not a venue; it's literally a cafe. And that's the first time I played in Plymouth, and they like cooked an incredible dinner, and they paid me a fee that was small but kind. So they cooked me dinner, paid me, and they gave me drinks all night, and it was a sellout gig of like 80 people, and it was wonderful. And that was like my first introduction to Plymouth gigs scene. So
I have a similar experience, but not as good, but good for me in that I'd been in London paying to play gigs, having to blank gigs all the time, and I went to, I can never remember the name of the pub, but it's up north of the Central Park, and it's now Wetherspoon's pub. But it used to be a great music venue, and they used to do. The guy used to bring a load of R&B acts over from America, but like really young people that hadn't really been discovered and stuff like that. But I just pitched up with my tape and my stuff, ready to blag, and I said, "Oh, I'm in a band, and I'd like to do a gig." And he said, "Yeah, sure, I'll go and get the diary." And I was like, "Really?" So I was very excited. I got to play for nothing and didn't get to pay. And I supported, you were talking about John Otway, I supported a guy called Arthur Brown.
Okay, I recognise
and
that name.
again, back in the 70s, he had a thing called The Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Yes.
And his big hit was Fire, which was fire.
Oh, yes.
And he used to set fire to his head.
So cool.
You know?
Yeah.
And he used to dance around on the place.
And you supported him in Plymouth.
Yeah, and that was my first gig.
That's
and
so cool.
It was so funny because he was out of his head. I mean, you know, he was an older gentleman, probably like me now, and had clearly had a very interesting life. And he'd kind of like slightly funked up all of his stuff. So he was like dancing around the stage doing Fire and a very different version. But
interesting.
Yeah, really nice
experience.
experience.
That's so cool.
You know?
I love that.
And the fact that I didn't have to pay to do it was just so exciting. You know. So, you know, it's by degrees. You've got to work yourself into these spaces.
Yeah.
It's been really lovely to talk to you.
And you.
Really nice to meet you. And I really wish you lots of luck with whatever you're doing, both for you and for the scene. And we need to sort of keep contributing into a bit of that, but also, we want to get something out of it as well. It's just kind of because we enjoy it and sort of enjoy what we're doing, really. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, wish you all the best.
Yay.
I never know how to end these. It will have ended just before I said I never know how to end it.
Bye.
Goodbye. Yes, that's right.